Nykaa Best in Beauty Summit 2024 in association with CNBC-TV18.
The inaugural edition of Nykaa's Best in Beauty Summit 2024 brought the beauty world together for an unforgettable celebration of innovation, trends, and trailblazing talent from the beauty space in India. Industry leaders, top influencers, and beauty enthusiasts gathered at the summit to deliberate on the evolution of the beauty landscape and explore the multi-billion-dollar opportunity the Indian market offers to both global and homegrown beauty brands. The evening kicked off with the launch of the first Nykaa Beauty Trends Report in partnership with Redseer Strategy Consultants.
India houses the world's fourth largest beauty. And this is a difference that has narrowed in the last 10, 12 years, and we are so proud about that. The industry's growth over the last few decades has been nothing short of remarkable. And over the last 12 years, Nykaa's journey in creating and shaping the beauty industry in India has enabled us to witness firsthand the evolution of beauty consumers. At Nykaa, we are highly invested in providing a personalized experience to each user, and with initiatives such as cohort-based discovery, are seeing higher CTRs as well as impressions that indicate sharper consumer journeys based on consumer preferences. All this is to say that this report is brought to you with a deep understanding of our consumers and how they engage across categories, and is testament to how Nykaa has harnessed technology, education, awareness to foster growth and innovation within the beauty industry. We hope it serves as a valuable resource for brands aiming to navigate the exciting phase, embracing technology to enhance every customer touchpoint and ultimately drive the industry forward.
The first panel of the evening deliberated on what's next for homegrown beauty brands.
Where do you see the wonderful Indian beauty industry that we have? Where do you see it headed to in the next couple of years? Niharika, maybe you can start with you.
But I do feel that, what we're seeing now is just the start of, really building not just incredible brands, but also really changing the way we communicate those brands. And between, say, video commerce with the kind of brands that even creators themselves are creating. Like, there are a lot of fashion and beauty creators who are now building their own brands because they're excited about the opportunity as well. I think there's going to be a lot more that's still to come. So overall, high growth, I think seeing a lot more community-based engagement in terms of how brands talk to their consumers. And hopefully we'll see, more and more sort of homegrown brands kind of go to the world. So.
Sure, absolutely. Shamika.
I think the time to be for beauty is now in India. This is the country. And a couple of months back, I was at an event in California, Business of Beauty, where I met with a lot of founders from all over the world. And it's not just Indians. Everyone all over the world is looking at India as the market to be right now. So we're all positioned to be in the best place. It's a very exciting time coming up for consumers and on the business side for brands as well.
Absolutely. Karishma.
I think it's a time for India now, not just for beauty, but for everything else. So I think it's a great time to be in India. And I certainly think that it's a time for great innovation as well, taking the age-old and bringing in the new era into India as well. So lots to look forward to.
Absolutely. Person, last thoughts.
I think beauty overall will become a lot more holistic. And some of us were discussing this before the panel, where it'll not just it'll move from topical to what's going in your body, to the overall space altogether, right? So it'll continue to evolve and continue to grow. I think that's a given.
The next panel brought together global leaders to explore the trends shaping beauty in India.
How do you see the market evolving, and which categories do you see really driving strategic growth?
I think the evolution of the market, I think the two things that I think will come big in the next few years and continue is, one, personalization. So that is from product development to personalization, whether that's a pH reactive product to also creating personalized product. And the second thing is further doubling down on essentially hybrid skincare and makeup.
So I would say no panel is complete unless everyone has talked about AI. So let me do that. So I think the question you're asking yourself as a brand, as a platform, as a marketer, whatever, is to say, how can I use AI to do what I do more effectively? And within that, two headlines. The first is, how do you use AI for creative generation? I think that's where it's most advanced. Be it images, be it text, be it placements. and being able to automate that. So I, as a marketer, had to approve like one creative at a time. Now you can have 1,000, put them into the tool, run your ads on everything, and the best ones work, right? So I think AI in creative is a big deal. It's here and now. It's not tomorrow. It's here and now. The second one is using AI to build out two-way conversational bots so that you're able to feed all the knowledge that you have from, say, a beauty assistant in a store, which folks like you will be very familiar with. How do you convert that into an AI-based bot to be able to engage with consumers? So I would say think about these things, but if you're back in the same room a year from now, you should have like a pack of things that you tried with
I
AI.
just have a bot sitting as part of the panel talking about it as well.
So I'll be very quick as well. So you said
2
right?
points.
2 points.
That's all you get.
So I'll take the first point as to say that India is ready for beauty revolution. The second point is that what kind of products that or categories that we are bullish about and which we should see. I would say the makeup category is going to grow, and within makeup, I would say makeup with care. So it is going to be a hybrid of how makeup would be treated with some skincare elements or caring elements. And number two would be something which is going to be multifunctional travel size products. So it could be, say, a dual stick between a lipstick and a lip liner, or it could be a foundation with a primer, or it could be even a kajal with a mascara. So these are some of the categories which I really foresee that is going to be in the next beauty space for us.
Karen, you're going to close this one off for us with your 2 points.
Yes, sure. So obviously the makeup category is going to continue to explode. And as we were saying before, there's so much interest in beauty and new trends really going to shape the future of the beauty industry. But a couple of places where we're really going to focus, I think everybody's kind of said it, but it's definitely in face. The big trend of the skinification of makeup and really looking at makeup that has skincare ingredients, skincare claims. Like we have a recent foundation launch that has more than 80% skincare ingredients. So I think that's going to be a real focus for us, and that's a place where you can drive loyalty as well, and where makeup will continue to have, technological advances as well. So you can look at new finishes, new textures. That's going to be really important, particularly for Gen Zs. And I think skincare as well, because it all starts with skincare, and consumers, not just Gen Z consumers, are going to continue to want to have great skin before they start any makeup routine. So I think that's going to be a category of growth as well.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all the insights.
Nykaa Best in Beauty Summit 2024 in association with CNBC-TV18.
Ladies and gentlemen, what an absolute pleasure it is to be here at the Nykaa Best in Beauty Summit 2024 to talk about the evolution of India's beauty market, where it currently stands, but more importantly and more interestingly, what next is in it. So let's get started with you, Aseem. Today, as per the report, in terms of value, beauty is about a $32 billion market in India. It's expected to go to about $34 billion by 2028. That's what the report suggests. Many aspects of what has changed in India, whether it is the democratization by way of technology, it's the advent of platforms like Nykaa, or it is the changing demographics and so on and so forth. What would you characterize as the big shifts, the top 3 shifts to your mind that are shaping currently the beauty landscape in India?
Incidentally, if you look at how beauty has progressed over the last 3 decades, if we want to call it, because L'Oreal has been there in India now, and 2024 is also a year when we are here in this country for 30 years.
Okay.
So we're celebrating that. For 30 years, the evolution has been from, let's start with the industry first, in terms of the number of players. Imagine 3 decades ago, there were very, very limited players. Yeah. And one of the big shift or the tectonic shift which has happened, especially post the COVID era, because there was always the digitalization part which was happening and it was taking off. But COVID was the big accelerator, right? Yeah. So the industry then suddenly had a spurt of new entrants and players. So now it's no more few players trying to run the entire beauty industry and expand it. Yeah. There are many, many more players because the barrier to enter is much lower. The second one is the categories themselves. And you can imagine 3 decades ago where the categories were very, very basic in terms of the routines of the consumer.
Yeah.
And today you have categories starting from skincare, which still remains, but is highly sophisticated, right? You have hair care, which is highly sophisticated. Right. The third shift, which is the consumer, which is a highly connected consumer, and we don't get to speak enough again and again to say highly digitalized world. It's a digitalized world, but it's also a village. Because what we're looking at is now on this planet, communities which are formed, which are agnostic of the geographical location.
Correct.
Right? So it's a highly connected, evolved access to education on products and routines, and also what you need for yourself is something which now is the third tectonic shift, if you want to, from an industry point of view, from a category point of view, and also from a consumer's point of view, which we see evolving now. So which to me says that clearly in India, this is the most exciting time to be in the beauty industry for the coming next 5, 10, 15, 20 years time.
Geetika, let's talk about the big shift that's happened in terms of spending. And Falguni said, till a couple of years ago, perhaps a cart would have had 3 products, a kajal at best, and maybe a moisturizer or something else, and maybe a third as a nail polish. Does an evolving market like this throw up a challenge for an incumbent player like yourself as it gets far more competitive? And does it then impact the role and relevance that you played in it as well? How do you stay relevant in a market that has now moved from cold creams to serums and what have you?
Yeah, so I think the first time I ever meet anybody and I say I work for Nivea, they would give instances of, oh, my mom used to use this brand. In fact, Anchit himself said, the grandmother used to use Nivea, So it is absolutely from that lens been part of their legacy. It therefore taps into a lot of rich emotional space. However, I think therein also lies its weakness. Oh, my mom used to use the brand, right? And therefore, are we renovating it enough? Which is why, in fact, this year, we've launched some exciting new things, right? And we plan to do more around that. Because while we tap into that love that the brand gets, the great quality, international, modern, credentials that we have, we also want to be innovative. We also want to be kind of listening to what consumers want. So we launched this new derma range, with salicylic acid and all of that, So I think just keeping up with the trends, and that is just a beginning of what more we want to do. So I think the important thing, therefore, is you keep the solid foundations of great quality products, but you build on it with exciting new innovations so that you're really remaining relevant and resonant really with the consumers of today.
Anchit, let's talk to you. The 35 million people that are on the platform at this point in time buying stuff from Nykaa, the cart size in terms of value, and maybe you can shed some light on that. Give us a sense of how much that's changed. What are people spending their money most on today?
Beauty is actually a very wide category, and there is a tremendous opportunity for consumers to be not only widening the basket, but also increasing the frequency of purchase. And that's where the work that Nykaa does is very important in collaboration with all of our brand partners, which is to drive the premiumization of beauty, which you spoke about. And as I said, premiumization is not necessarily selling a higher price product. That is, of course, one type of premiumization. But increasing the stepification of beauty, increasing the number of products is also equally important, if not more important, because that addresses a larger demographic. So a lot of the work that we do is on driving awareness for the sheer size and complexity of this category and how to simplify it for consumers and how to make it more accessible. To give you a sense, our customers will visit us 50 times in a year. That's almost once a week, and they transact on average 4 times in a year. So they're coming to educate themselves, they're coming to learn. So I think in India...
Not necessarily just buy.
Yeah, and we never wanted that, right? We never wanted to be just a transaction platform because then you have a very different type of consumer behavior and that requires a different type of incentivization. If consumers are willing to organically open our app or to enter our stores, just to explore, to play with this category, to educate themselves, that for us is the most important thing because that creates demand for the future.
Right.
If not immediate, at least demand for the future.
Yeah. Well, Anchit, Geetika, and Aseem, many, many thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our panel this evening.
Nykaa Best in Beauty Summit 2024 in association with CNBC-TV18.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, to continue the conversations on what the beauty market in India is going to look like. So without further ado, Rohit Java, I'm going to start by you and jump in there on, what you saw happen as far as China is concerned, what you've seen happen in Philippines, working with Unilever and, taking forward the Unilever strategy in some of those markets. How similar does the Indian market look to the kind of consumption explosion that we saw in China? How far back are we? Quantify that for us.
If you looked at the per capita income, the consumption of the beauty industry at the moment, cleansing and care is very, very small at the moment in India. It's about $2 or thereabouts. You go further up to the east, to Indonesia, it's about 8. You go to China, it goes to 30. So, and you go further up to Japan, I promise you it's even higher. And when I was in China, we used to look at Japan and say, listen, if you draw the curve of the consumption with per capita, this is where China is going. And China was $40 billion in scale at that time, a few years back, not including colors and so on and so forth. So there was enough headspace for China alone to basically go to the next level. So if you look back at, I've been fortunate to be in so many markets to see the curve of how the industry develops. I think from an India point of view, we are in the foothills of a massive mountain, and we will reach massive heights, and the potential is infinite, at least in our lifetime, because we're talking 1.4 billion people. If you look at just the top 50 million, let's say more affluent people, many of them are here, and then they're already using 5 or 6 steps. You call it stepification. The regime in HUL, we call it. And therefore, the beauty consciousness and the aspiration is already been unlocked, especially even in more macro, larger population base through Instagram, through Facebook and other such social media. So the aspiration, the access, the awareness has actually been unleashed across the country. So basically, in sum, what I'm saying is that by and large, the beauty industry develops in a similar way, in that it gets more fragmented, it becomes more digital, more social, it gets more and more clinical, and it gets more and more social, influencer-led, etc. But the arc is, while similar, we are still in the early stages of that development, and we will have many, many decades of growth ahead of us.
Falguni, let's continue the conversation and talk about the India opportunity, and I'll talk to you that in the context of the kind of growth that Nykaa has seen. You're 35 million customers on the platform at this point in time. You're not just digital, you're also now present across different cities. You've got 200 stores at this point in time. And just going by the beauty numbers, your beauty GMV is up 28% to 2,543 crores. Beauty revenue at 1,594 crores is up 23%. I'm not asking you to forecast for us what the next quarter is going to look like. We don't want SEBI to come down on us. But, what could this number look like over the next few years?
No, I think if we go back when Nykaa was started just about 12 years ago, the per capita consumption in India was as low as beauty and personal care was as low as $6. And today we are at about $15 per capita. And even this, for our income level, is below where we should be. Countries with similar income levels, to answer your question, have per capita consumption which is 3 to 4 times. So they are already at somewhere around $45 per capita. So India is below on beauty consumption habit, and that's where Nykaa always felt that education and social media is also helping a lot, but education at scale is the way to kind of bring more consumers into beauty consumption. And that is happening very rapidly. And exactly to answer your question, like Rohit said, we also see that our top quartile, percentile, we internally call them California users. So they already behave like California users in per capita consumption, but at the same time, the marginal customer also comes at a very low consumption level. And the whole trick is to get them more involved, get them more educated, and get them to buy more. And that's where what Anchit earlier said, we work very hard to cross-pollinate other categories and increasingly using journeys to keep educating them on more and more categories, further depth in their sophistication of consumption so that we can take them on that journey.
And I just want to take forward the aspect that we were all talking about and the big explosion that is taking off and likely to pick up pace and momentum of the Bharat story and how that's going to be driving consumption, especially as far as the beauty category is concerned. And the report talks about that as well. You know, shed some light on what we're dealing with here, what we should be excited about.
We at Redseer work with a lot of companies which are dealing with disruptions. So it could be startups which are trying to disrupt the market, or it could be the large organizations like Unilever, which are trying to sort of get into a next wave of disruption. So one of the things which we have observed about the Indian consumer is that they are growing confident. And when I say they're growing confident, means they are becoming more and more demanding, and they're confident about their choices. So the whole idea, I think when the internet and e-commerce market started about 10, 15 years back, there were a lot of discussions about the large international e-tailers trying to do this education to Indian customers on how to use internet and do online shopping. And somewhere down the line, I think some of these guys understood that that's just one part of the story, that you have to make the customers get educated. But the other part of the story is that these customers have their viewpoints and their demands, and they have to, and the brands and the companies have to start acting as per what they need. And what they need could be very different from what has worked out in the global markets or what has been working till now. So we see that there's a confident India which is coming in, and confident India is being served best by disruptions. So that's where we see the startups and the new companies which are able to ride onto the disruptions are able to serve these customers better.
Ismail, what does the next 5 or 10 years look like for you?
For us, if we see the next decade, India is going to be the #1 consumer acquisition market for us in the world. We've seen the report, we've seen that the number of affluent consumers is going to triple by the end of this decade. And for us, this is going to be a massive opportunity. We see clearly as affluence is coming in, as knowledge is coming in, consumers are becoming more sophisticated, more demanding. And as consumers start becoming more demanding and sophisticated, L'Oreal always wins. So we are very, very confident that at one point in time, this will be a big market for us and we will be #1 here like we are in every other very sophisticated market in the world.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck with each of your individual plans, and we hope as you win, the Indian consumer continues to win in the beauty care space as well. Thank you very much for your time. And ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our panelists here.
The inaugural summit ended with the first Nykaa Best in Beauty Awards 2024. From skincare to makeup and established names to rising stars, these awards celebrated excellence across the beauty industry by recognizing standout brands, products, and innovators.
Nykaa Best in Beauty Summit 2024 in association with CNBC-TV18.